You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The RTM will be convened on Wednesday, April 10th, 2019, at 8 p.m. at the Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, to consider and act upon the following matters. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, Lisa's got it.
Okay, before we have the roll call, I'd like to have the town clerk come up and swear our new member into the RTM, Lisa Greenberg.
Lindsay?
Lindsay.
I'm sorry.
I'm Lisa.
I always get that confused. Lindsay.
That's Lindsay.
Final answer? Lindsay Greenberg, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Connecticut, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully discharge the laws of the town charter and the duties of representative town meeting of the town of Branford to the best of your ability, so help you God. Congratulations.
Okay, I will assign Lindsay to the Administrative Services Committee. Item number 1, roll call.
Okay. Representative Edelman. Not here. Representative Alphone.
Here.
Representative Anderson. Here. Representative Black.
Here.
Representative Brockett.
Here.
Representative Conklin.
Here.
Representative Dunbar.
Present.
Representative Erlinger. Not here. Representative Everlith here. Representative Flanagan.
No.
Here. Representative Gordon.
Here.
No Gordon?
Yeah, Gordon's here.
Oh, sorry. Representative Greenberg. Here. Representative Healy.
Present.
Representative Henschel.
Here.
Representative Ingraham.
Here.
Representative Jackson.
Here.
Representative Lawler.
Here.
Representative Leonard.
Here.
Representative Lombardi. Here. Representative Preet.
Here.
Representative Riccio.
Present.
Representative Sumro. Here. Representative Stepanek.
Here.
Representative Sullivan, not here. Representative Torelli. No. Representative Traw. Here. Representative Toohill.
Here.
Representative Walker.
Here.
And Representative Wells.
Here.
Okay, for ex officios, we have First Selectman Cosgrove
Town clerk.
and Town Clerk Arpin. And I believe, 1, 2, 3, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Item number 2, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion to approve? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved without exception. Item number 3, reception of communications, reports of committees, and citizens petitions. I have an item here that was sent to me by James Finch, the Finance Director. Honorable Dennis Flanagan, please be advised that the town will be participating in the Neighborhood Assistance Tax Credit Program. In order for the program to be eligible, they must be approved by the RTM and forwarded to the state by June 30th. In an effort to comply with this timetable, I am respectfully requesting that this item be referred to the appropriate committee to facilitate the required approvals before the filing deadline. I will send this to Administrative Services. The other item I will be sending to both Public Services and Ways and Means is the police contract This is a two-part contract, Public Services doing the normal portion of it, and then Ways and Means doing the pension portion of it. So this will be two separate votes. And we'll be voting on this at our budget meeting on May 14th, one day before the actual deadline, before it gets automatically ratified.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
we'll be having a special joint meeting, most likely right now on the April 22nd, but stay tuned if you're interested.
You said April 22nd?
April 22nd. April 22nd, you said?
Yes.
Representative
Most
Black?
likely, we
Most
haven't
likely.
nailed it down with all the
Okay.
parties
Okay.
yet that need to be there.
I have a letter here that was addressed to Representative Walker. Dear Mr. Walker, as you are a representative of my district, I'm running to express my support for the ban on single-use plastic bags in Branford, which is presently in the Rules and Ordinance Committee of the Branford Representative Town Meeting. Plastic bags began their journey as fossils and end up in the extremely harmful waste compiled to landfills and our oceans. It is common for the birds to mistakenly shred the plastic bags as food instead of toxic debris. It is. As for hungry sea turtles, it is impossible to distinguish between nutritious jellyfish or a plastic bag that used once for less than 5 minutes. Fish eat thousands and tons of plastic annually, which makes it very harmful into the food chain. Despite this, consumers still reach for these plastic bags simply because they are available, and a privileged lack of action that has enabled this unnecessary wasteful lifestyle. I am hopeful that this will be your vote for your support to this legislation, and in turn put Branford on the right history. Sincerely, and it looks like, what's the first name here? I can't make that up. Maya
Chirikides.
Claridinis, and she's 17 and she's a junior at the Branford High School. You have anything else? No? Okay, that's it on the net. We move on to item 4. To consider and if appropriate, adopt a uniform procedure for ordinance enforcement pursuant to Town Meeting Rules A 236-4.1D. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you. Rules and Ordinances met on March 19th, Mr. Moderator, on this review of our uniform procedures for ordinance enforcement. There's a continuing discussion on this, and ultimately this will be a kind of a far-reaching review of the entire town code on enforcement across the code. But at that meeting, R&O voted unanimously to re-refer, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to re-refer this item. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is re-referred. Item number 5, to review Branford's town dock ordinance and, if appropriate, revise the time limits and rights of appeal. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. At the same R&O meeting, the review continued on the town dock ordinance. And as with the previous item, the committee voted to re-refer, and that passed unanimously. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to re-refer the item. Any discussion on the re-referral? Hearing none. All those, Representative Gordon?
Yes, I think we ought to consider in that meeting getting rid of the requirement for 50 signatures. I think you went out to try to get 50 signatures on the subject of climate change. It would take you 2 months. So I think we ought to eliminate that by re-refer it. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the re-referral? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is re-referred. Item number 6, to consider and if appropriate, approve changes to the floodplain management ordinance, Chapter 161. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rules and Ordinances met on 3/19 on this matter also. This passed unanimously. I was actually hoping that Representative Sullivan might have some input on this evening. What I can offer is that the changes mirror the regulations in the state building code and will allow the new regulations to be enforced by the town floodplain administrator. This language has been circulated to the committee, to the entire body, I should say. The committee voted unanimously to approve, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve this item. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item is passed. Item 7, to consider if appropriate, create an ordinance restricting use of plastic bags. Representative Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. R&O met once again on this on 3/19. The discussion on the terms and conditions is still continuing, and the committee voted to re-refer this proposed ordinance, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to re-refer this item. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item is re-referred. Item 8, to consider and if appropriate, approve an extended tax abatement of real property taxes on properties located at 13-29 Roger Street and 142-190 Ivy Street for an additional 10 years effective October 1, 2019 grand list as permitted by section 169-2-4 of the Code of Branford Housing Developer Corporation and the Branford Interfaith Housing Corporation. Representative Alphone.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Admin Services Committee met and acted on this item at our April 4th meeting. This was re-referred from the previous month. After receiving some clarification from the town attorney regarding the wording of the town code, the committee voted to approve this with a 6-0 vote. And I'd put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, the motion on the floor to approve this item. Any discussion on that? I'm going to call on Representative Leonard also because our Rules and Ordinance was involved in this.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rules and Ordinances met on this matter on March 19th also. The committee agreed on language that we forwarded to Town Council. Town Council reviewed it and came back to us with his proposed language. Unfortunately, with the time frame of his response to us and our meeting relative to this meeting, our committee voted unanimously to propose this language, but at this point I would ask this body to consider a re-referral so that we can have time to consider the town council's proposal with language that he feels would better serve in the town code.
I'll second the amendment.
All right, this is an amendment to Representative Alphone's motion. We'll use it.
No,
They're kind of two separate items.
Two separate items. We'll do. So, okay, so you're making a motion now to re-refer this item?
For our committee, I mean,
Your committee, right,
there are two
right.
separate aspects to one
Okay.
agenda item.
Mr. The Admin Services took up one action and R&O took up a different.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the town attorney looked at the current code wording, and he said we were okay to vote on the item the way the current code read. I think R&O was looking at rewording the code, the reference to the code, just for future clarification. But as it stands now, the town attorney feels that we were okay to approve it as it currently reads in the town code.
Over here, Dan.
Representative Ingram?
No, that way.
What?
Different way.
Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Dunbar, I didn't see you over there.
I think what the Rules and Ordinance has taken up makes it possible for us to do what we needed to do. Absent that wording being changed by Rules and Ordinance, it should still be standing at what we originally looked at, which we had said was inappropriate at that time the way it was written. I think we should re-refer our part. It's going to go through, but to keep it clean, I would think the Rules and Ordinance has to do their part first, then we can do our part.
I agree.
Do we need it?
Okay, so, motion then it would be to re-refer this item, Representative Leonard.
Yes,
For-
Mr. Moderator.
We'll, we'll re-refer this for one more month so
Should've
we can get the
bifurcated.
wording on it and the clarification on it then,
Heard
okay?
anything time-wise?
Any discussion on that? All those in favor of referring this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
That was the
referred.
amendment.
Wait, so that was the amendment, Representative Leonard's amendment
Correct.
to.
So there's
Okay.
an amendment.
Now you have main motions.
Now we have the main motion to
So
re-refer,
Rev. Leonard.
which we voted on.
No, there's a motion to approve on the floor.
Right, but he offered, his motion is to amend it,
that.
Okay.
okay? So we're,
So now with the motion
So
to
all of it's
refer.
re-referred. Okay.
Now we have to vote on that.
now we have to vote on the re-referral. Okay? All those in favor of re-referring this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this item is re-referred.
Budget night's getting long.
Item number 9, to consider if appropriate, approve request from the Public Works for the following budget transfer from regular wages and salaries, $21,200, to other purchase services, $21,000, and to radio communications, $200. Representative Conklin.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This was heard at the Public Service Committee meeting on April the 4th, and it is a transfer within the current year's budget, within their own budget. There is a surplus currently in regular wages and salaries, and a shortfall in other purchase services. And the shortfall will be for cleaning catch basins. At the 200, you'll have to excuse me, I think it's one radio for the communication within Public Works. And this was approved unanimously at our committee, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve the transfer. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries. Item 10, to consider if appropriate, approve request from the Board of Police Commissioners for the following budget transfer from UPS, $1,289, from electrical upgrades, $971, from MDT, $680, from LPR, $1,625, from video recording, $64, from laser speed units, $841, for a total of $5,470, to furniture replacement for $5,470. Representative Conklin?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, this was heard at our April 4th Public Service Committee meeting. And what you'll notice is that the line items on the from are from capital account 700. These are from all projects that are complete, and this is leftover money. And they requested that we move this money into furniture replacement. And I know that Representative Brockett can vouch for the fact that they need new furniture, because we did take a tour. And so this just allows them not to ask for $10,000 in their budget this year for new furniture, and lower their request to $5,000. It was voted unanimously by the committee, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The item carries. Representative Dunbar thanks you. He needs a chair pretty bad, he said, so.
My stuff is fine, I don't know what you're
Item number 11, to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the Finance Director for the following budget transfer and resolution from a general fund miscellaneous income, $89,102, to transfer out lease fund BOE, $89,102. Resolved that the Board of Finance recommends to the RTM an increase in appropriations for the fiscal year 2019 general building budget fund from $113,080,371 to $113,169,473. This increase of $89,102 will be funded with increased revenue derived from lapsed balances in the Walsh Intermediate School shower/locker replacements and the BOE severance fund, which will be closed following the approval of the RTM. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ways and Means met on this last Wednesday and voted 4-0 in favor of these transfers. What this is Board of Education has funds left over from the $40,000 that was appropriated for the Walsh Intermediate School locker room renovation. At our urging, they did not do a total renovation of that locker room, seeing as they were going to renovate the whole school, but just made the necessary repairs to the plumbing as a stopgap measure. So in the locker room fund, there are unused funds of $36,073. The Board of Education also had a severance fund for certain employees who, when they left the school system, would be entitled to severance payment. That program is now ended. All of the employees who were entitled to that payment have left. So there's a balance in that fund of $53,029. So those funds are going to go into the miscellaneous income line and then go into the Board of Education lease fund. And that lease will fund leases for computers. A couple years ago, we decided to stop buying computers new, but lease them and be sure that the technology would be refreshed on a regular basis. And then there's the resolution that the moderator read that increases the general fund budget for this year. So again, we voted in favor of this 4-0, and I put that in form of a motion.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The item carries. Item 12, engineering. There are two requests in the capital plan that were presented by the town engineer related to the infrastructure at the total of $325,000. These two projects were the Howard Street revetment, $125,000, and design costs for the Meadow Street reconstruction, $200,000. As the board may recall, the funds for Meadow Street may leverage an additional $2 million in improvements. The reinvestment project was identified in the Coastal Resilience Plan, and the approval will allow the project to be started before the end of the year of the fiscal year. This is coming from general fund balance, $325,000, to operating transfer out funds, $325,000. And I'm gonna just go into item 13 also because it pertains to the engineering. Item 13 is the Fund 730 Infraction Enhancement Fund. From transfer in $325,000, and from engineering design Meadow Street, $200,000, and from construction Howard Street revetment, $125,000. Representative Black?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. On our agenda, it's all items 12A and B. These are transfers from fund balance through basically laundering it through a couple other funds into Meadow Street design, the $200,000 that you mentioned there, which should leverage about $2 million in lot SIP fund, which is local transportation improvement program that's bonded state money. And that's to try to ameliorate some of the nuisance flooding on Meadow Street. The second item is the Howard Street revetment. What we're doing is actually going to put some riprap along the slope between the old Trolley Street easement that's between most of the homes on Howard Street and the ocean that's been eroded by storms. It's not too bad right now, but if we get another Sandy or Irene, we may be in a world of we all know what with the sewers exposed. So the committee met on this. The vote was 3 in favor, 1 abstention, and so I put that in the form of a motion. Thank you.
Any discussion on the motion to approve item 12 and 13? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 12 and 13 has been approved. Item 14, yes. 12A and B?
We don't have,
12A and B?
13 is not.
Okay, 12A and B. Okay.
It's weird.
Item number 14, appropriation to reduce future liabilities. No, he just did both of these at one time.
12A and B was done.
You might have different numberings just off.
Hold on, my copy didn't, okay. I got you, okay. My copy didn't show that, okay. So now we get right, you're right, we have to do C, appropriation to reduce future liabilities from fund balance, 475,000, to retirement police, 475,000. Representative Black?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, this is moving money out of the undesignated fund balance. We pulled from that a little bit already. At the end of last fiscal year, the audit showed that we had 27 million in the undesignated fund balance. So we're pulling 475,000 out of that undesignated fund balance and putting it into the police retirement account. What this does is it nudges the police retirement account up over a 70% funding ratio, and that's at a very conservative 6% discount rate. We've reduced the discount rate fairly recently, but the bonding agencies like to see us over 70%. The money should return about, we expect at least 6% in the retirement fund, and right now it's earning less than 2% in the undesignated fund balance due to state statutory restrictions on investments that we can make. Going along with this is increasing the general fund balance with the resolution that's below this Part C on your agenda. Again, the committee voted 4-0 in favor of these transfers and the resolution, so I put that in the form of a motion.
The resolution reads that the Board of Finance recommends to the RTM an increasing appropriations for the fiscal year 2019 general fund budget from $113,169,473 to $113,969,473. This increase will be funded through an appropriation from the fund balance and will be used to increase the pension contribution and proposed capital improvements. Any further discussion on the motion? Representative Henschel?
Just a point of clarification, could we have information on what the fund balance is, either before or after this transfer, the general fund?
I don't know.
You don't know?
But it's probably, and if you ask Jim Finch at any point, he'll always say, wait for the audit to come through. He's always non-committal, we do ask him, but it's probably about 25 million, but it could be more.
More would be better.
Yeah, we know that, and we've had some discussion about the fund balance, in particular in our committee. Some of the members have had a lot of discussion about it. As you know, you were at the Board of Finance. I was pushing for them to push more into the police pension fund, and I think that's got a lot of support from members on both sides of the aisle here. So
Thank you.
we're pushing as we can. Jim's also concerned about the borrowing needs and the heavy cash needs that we'll have in the next few years with the projects that we've going on.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the item carries. And now we go to item 13, which is to consider an appropriate approve a resolution on tolls in Branford. Representative Ricchio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This evening, I would like to propose a resolution from the Branford RTM in opposition to install tolls on local and state roads. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas The Branford RTM believes that the implementation of tolls on Connecticut highways would result in increased traffic on secondary roads in the town of Branford, with motorists attempting to bypass the tolls. And whereas the RTM further believes the increased traffic on secondary roads would affect the quality of life of Branford residents in numerous ways. A dramatic increase of heavy-duty commercial vehicles and tractor-trailer trucks' presence encroaching on our scenic New England community, negatively impacting the town's character and, most importantly, atmosphere. And by the way, we put the word atmosphere in just for Representative Sullivan. B, a dramatic increase in traffic by heavy-duty commercial vehicles and tractor-trailers, subjecting streets to increased damage, maintenance, and repair costs, resulting in an increased tax burden, crowding of secondary roads, an increase in traffic accidents, disruption of the pedestrian enjoyment in and around the roads affected. C, traffic congestion from increased vehicles and accidents delaying response time for emergency personnel, causing significant safety concerns and compromising the standard of safety care and increasing the cost of public safety to the taxpayers of the town of Branford. D, discouraging retail establishments and shopping, putting our valued local businesses at a competitive disadvantage and increasing costs and convenience to residents. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Branford RTM does hereby declare its opposition to the implementation of tolls on state highways within the town of Branford's jurisdiction, and be it further resolved that the Branford RTM does hereby submit this resolution to the Governor of the State of Connecticut and the Connecticut State Legislature this 10th day of April 2019. Mr. Moderator, can I make a few comments before I make my motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm sure this is a hot topic right now in the state of Connecticut. Many citizens will say, or will ask, why should Connecticut allow non-residents to drive through our state free of charge? Fact, the studies tell us that non-residents will only comprise of 30% of the toll revenue. The rest will come from the other 70% will come from us, Connecticut residents. So, in other words, we'll be footing the bill. Question number 2, people will ask, why don't we just charge non-residents or just put entry points as you enter Connecticut? Fact, it's against federal law to only charge non-residents at entry points. Question number 3, people may ask, why don't we just charge tractor-trailer trucks? Fact, trucks are already paying $35 million in state taxes. Trucks pay truck registration fees and other fees, which are based on miles driven in each state. Rhode Island is trying to do that right now, and they're facing large lawsuits. Question, our highway infrastructure needs to be upgraded and repaired. Fact, $1 billion in revenue goes to the state of Connecticut annually. Where is it? I'll tell you where it's at. It's being paid to pay personnel, operating costs. That money is being diverted to pay other bills. It's not going toward the highway system. Plus, people will say, well, we need new bridges. Those major projects are funded through the capital budget, and that funding comes from the bonding commission. The solution, we need to reduce the overhead and the size of the state of Connecticut government and make safety, security, and infrastructure the state's priority, not by charging more taxes. Question, won't the revenue designated for the state transportation fund go into a special lockbox that the General Assembly can only use for transportation costs? We've watched, it's like watching a I Love Lucy movie. We have seen this movie played before. 1971, the state of Connecticut approved the lottery system. That money was supposed to go toward the education system. Where's the money? Fact, casinos in 1990, the money was supposed to go towards the education system. Where's the money? Tolls, now 2020. We're never going to see that money. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. We've watched this movie before. Hartford has siphoned off the people's money for 40 years for their pet projects, special interest needs. And it's time we finally send a message to Hartford and say, we've had enough. Therefore, Mr. Moderator, I would like to put in the form of a motion to approve this resolution, and I ask for a roll call vote. Thank you.
Second on the motion.
Second.
Discussion, any further discussion? Representative Henschel?
Yes, pre-
Representative Henschel?
Yeah, first, I believe that we received a letter from Representative Sullivan, and possibly you could ask Jessica to read the summary, first couple of sentences of that into the record before I speak.
Yes. Okay. It's a rather long letter, so I'm just gonna summarize. So, dear Moderator Flanagan and Clerk Everlith, I am submitting this letter to be considered as correspondence, as I am unlikely to make it to the RTM meeting due to a previously scheduled out-of-state training for work. I want to clearly state that I am opposed to the resolution by Rep. Riccio and find it to be an act of irresponsible governance. He goes on to talk about tolls and how they might affect things, and then ends it with that I ask my colleagues on the RTM to vote no on this resolution.
Any further discussion on Representative Riccio?
Mr. Moderator, can we have the entire letter written, please? We have the entire letter read.
Go ahead.
All right. Do you want me to start from the top or?
You bet.
Okay. Dear Moderator Flanagan and Clerk Everlith, I am submitting this letter to be considered as correspondence, as I am unlikely to make it to the RTM meeting due to a previously scheduled out-of-state training for work. I want to clearly state that I am opposed to this resolution by Representative Riccio and find it to be an act of irresponsible governance. I do not believe that the implementation of tolls will generate more traffic on secondary highways in Branford, and so cannot support this resolution. Is there a traffic study that shows projected increases to local traffic, or is the resolution based only on speculation? Study after study and report after report shows that our roads, bridges, and rails need significant investment to bring their quality up to suitable levels. The Connecticut Society of Civil Engineers rates our roads at a D+. We can and we must do better with our infrastructure. Projected costs to repair and enhance Connecticut's infrastructure is roughly $800 million. Implementing tolls is the only logical way to bridge this gap. A study by CDM Smith shows that roughly 40% of toll dollars collected will come from out-of-state drivers. Without tolls, the only option is to pay for infrastructure through bonding, adding to our debt, and paying more over time due to interest. All bonded costs will be paid by 100% Connecticut residents only, putting the cost solely on our shoulders instead of sharing with out-of-state drivers. By being anti-tolls, is bonding the solution proposed by Representative Riccio. Both the Council for Connecticut Municipalities, CCM, and the Council of Small Towns, COST, are in favor of toll implementation. Branford is a paying member of CCM. Why would we take actions in contradiction to an organization we pay to represent us as a town? Every other state on the Atlantic seaboard utilizes tolls to pay for valuable infrastructure, upgrades, and maintenance. It is time that Connecticut takes the logical step and joins all of our neighboring states to be able to invest in our roads, bridges, and travel needs. I ask that my colleagues on the RTM vote no on this resolution. Thank you, sincerely, Chris Sullivan, Minority Leader, and that's dated April 8th, 2019.
Okay. We could have read that on the correspondence. Any further discussion on this item? Representative Henschel?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, we've discussed this resolution in caucus and feel that this is a state issue with many very complex facets. We have most of those facets have not been clarified. We have very little detail. There's been very little research presented to us to be able to evaluate them. And we feel that it's inappropriate for the RTM to deliberate on this type of a resolution at this time. We're not voting to the issue of tolls or the issue of traffic or the issue of taxes. We're voting no on the precedent that this resolution sets. And I think it's the beginning, it would be the beginning of a slippery slope. There are innumerable statewide issues that will be coming up that the people in the RTM may feel some interest in, but to use the RTM to make statements to the state, I think is an inappropriate use of our RTM time. We have representatives that we've elected on a statewide basis. We certainly are all free to lobby those representatives and either town-wide or RTM-wide and have our opinions felt in that form. But I feel that this is voting on this would be set a very bad precedent for the future of the RTM. Thank you.
Representative Ingraham?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I actually feel the opposite, that this is our job. We do bring things to the RTM to be discussed. We do enormous actions. We've spent months and months on fracking ordinances, which is directing the state. It was directing the state to make state laws on fracking. We're doing the same thing with plastic bags. We're pushing the state to make laws. That's how it's presented. It's been presented over and over again to make sure that we go first and wag the state, make the state do the right thing. So presenting anything here, as any one of you as a member, you can present it. It's allowed to be presented. It's allowed to have an up and down vote. That's what we're allowed to have. If you're not able to do this, Representative Gordon was referring to a petition of 50 signatures. That was the safety outlet. If a representative wouldn't bring something to the floor, that a citizen could come and have 50 signatures and have an item talked about on the floor. Something that was taken out of our code a few years ago and brought back in 6 years ago. Very important to us. So I'm asking you to vote yes to this on the notions of no tolls, but on the action of bringing anything to this floor, every member should feel free to bring something here.
Representative Jackson?
Mr. Moderator, thank you. I would only like to speak to Representative Ingraham because I don't believe that the fracking issue or the plastic bag issue was in any way equal to the toll issue. For one thing, we have absolutely no ability to deal with the tolls as a town. The fracking issue, we said, we're outlawing fracking in this town, and the plastic bag is the same thing in this town. Those are things that we have power over. We don't have power over the state tolls.
Representative Toohill?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First of all, the resolution brings to the attention of the governor and the legislature. It's the opposition from the Branford RTM representing the Branford constituents to the implementation of tolls on state highways within the town of Branford's jurisdiction. So this is a local issue, and we're simply conveying to them in Hartford the powers that be how we feel. I support the resolution before the RTM tonight. First, as a taxpayer, we paid off the Turnpike bonds many years ago. The Turnpike is what's now 95, and that was built with private funds that were bonded. We paid for that road already. We shouldn't have to pay for it again. through tolls. As far as studies about traffic, I mean, we saw it with our own eyes. There was a toll station on I-95 up where the rest areas are. Everybody coming eastward got off in East Haven, drove over the Branford Hill on Route 1, and then got on the turnpike again on exit 54. It was only a quarter back then. That was the toll, 25 cents. It's going to be, I've seen estimates, $1.60, $2.20. It depends on whether you use Easy Pass or not. It's going to be a lot more than 25 cents, and drivers are going to get off and try to bypass the toll. This resolution talks about tolls in Branford. The other thing is, as Representative Riccio says, there is money for the road reconstructions. We have to cut state spending. We have to reduce the pensions, the health bennies. We have to encourage business. That's how we generate income. I've read estimates from the Yankee Institute that, first of all, these tolling gantries, 77 of them, all around the state, it's not going to be run by the state. We have to hire a company's going to run it for us at $492,000 a day. That's the fee we have to pay the company to run the gantries. Plus, you have to remember, since it's not going to be staffed at the gantries, right? Cars passing through, if they don't have Easy Pass, the license plate's going to be taken. And what you're going to have to do is hire a staff in Hartford to make sure, that the bills go out to all the motorists that don't have Easy Pass. And they have to collect the money. And there are some estimates that all the money that gets collected is going to be spent on the tolling operation itself. So to me, it's just like the Hartford to New Britain busway. That costs the taxpayers of our state, okay, that's only 9.4 miles long, the New Britain to Hartford busway. It cost $570 million, of which our state taxpayers paid $113 million of that. The rest was federal. The CTDOT already receives from the gas tax and other taxes $1.5 billion. How much more do we need to pay? It's another boondoggle. Vote yes. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the item? Representative Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Roderick. I'm just going to speak to the traffic issue. In my previous job that I held for the past 3 years until January, part of my sales territory was New York. And every time I got to the New York border, I would flip my GPS, push one button, avoid tolls, and it routes you through the cities without hitting the tolls. My current job, now I call exclusively people throughout Connecticut. I drive about 1,200 miles a week around the state calling on various audiologist offices. Most of you knew that. That's my job. Now I don't need to do that, but I can assure you that just me personally will be happy to flip that back on GPS and drive around Route 1 instead of 95 to get to the different offices every day. That's just one example, but I'm not the only one that thinks like that. If I can avoid $150 a week or so on my travel, I'm going to do it. Thank you.
Representative Riccio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I live in the 6th District off Brushy Plains Road. It takes sometimes 10 minutes to get out of my street due to the traffic that goes between Route 1 and Route 80 over Snake Hill Road. If you haven't been to Snake Hill Road in the last year, you really should check it out because they are doing a magnificent job widening that road for one purpose. So tractor trailers can go up that hill. Mr. Dunbar, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. How many times every month does a tractor trailer get stuck trying to go up Snake Hill Road and they can't make the turn? All the time. And that involves the Branford Police to go up there and back the trucks up. I've seen it numerous times. So what's going to happen in about 12 months, Snake Hill Road is going to open up. So guess what? Tractor trailers can cut between Route 80 and Route 1.
Representative Riccio, does this pertain to the toll?
It sure does. Because not only are they going to try to duck the tolls, let me tell you what's going to happen. On Brushy Plains Road, you have a park, you have an elementary school, you have school buses, and I wish Mr. Sullivan was here, because he lives in that district. And I would like him to ask, or at least tell me, how he's going to try to avoid accidents and make sure the safety of school children will be supported on a very busy road, a very dangerous road, and that's what's going to happen. So think about what I'm proposing tonight, and I hope you support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion?
He was invited.
No? Right? No. Representative Dunbar.
Well, one good thing is they won't get stuck on the road anymore. But you're right. They get stuck all the time. I'm voting no against this tonight, not because I believe the letter that was read. I know firsthand the traffic in this town stinks on weekends in the summertime. And do I think that this may cause a problem? Yes. But here's the problem I have. I keep hearing about these statistics that no one's shown me yet. I know what I believe it is. I would like to make a decision for the residents of the town of Branford based on their safety and what it's going to cost them alone. But a lot of what was said here tonight went way beyond that. We all know that people may not have used money properly there. But I thought that's not what this debate was. This was whether or not we needed to have our residents pay tolls to get to work or the safety. And it seems like we got way out to make a political statement that didn't need to be made. On the merits of it, of the tolls, yeah, I could run with that if we had a little more info and we didn't just rush through this tonight. And I know a lot of people have information, but I don't have everything that they're putting out. And I'm not really going to ask DOT because they're the ones that want this, so I'm not really going to trust any of their surveys. So it's not against what you're saying as far as the toll itself or the safety. I think there's a lot of merit there, but based on everything else that's been thrown into this, it made it more political than it really needed to be. And I would like to have some statistics for the residents, and I would like to hear from the residents. We have this, and I know we have state reps. I haven't heard from them either. They may have residents saying no, no, no. They may have them saying yes. I would love to have a little bit of time to reach out to them, seeing they represent us up there, and get some of the information they have. And as of tonight, unfortunately, that's not available. At least they haven't made it available.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Representative Alphone.
Yes.
Representative Anderson.
Yes.
Representative Black.
Yes.
Representative Brockett.
No.
Representative Conklin.
Yes.
Representative Dunbar.
No.
Representative Everlith, no. Representative, my thing's on the set. Representative Gordon.
Yes.
Representative Greenberg.
Yes.
Representative Healy.
Yes.
Representative Henschel.
No on the president.
Representative Ingraham.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
No.
Representative Lawler.
Yes.
Representative Leonard.
Yes.
Representative Lombardi. Representative Preet.
Yes.
Representative Ricchio.
Yes.
Representative Sumro. Representative Stepanek.
Yes.
Representative Traw. Representative Toohill.
Yes.
Representative Walker.
Yes.
And Representative Wells.
Yes.
I believe it was passed.
Yep. Okay, the resolution passes. But for the record, this was item 13. Item number 14, any other business come before the RTM? What do you got, Frank?
I want a moment of silence.
Huh?
I want a moment of silence.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would like to request to the RTM, please give us a moment of silence on the passing of former RTM clerk Ann Devlin. She was elected on the taxpayer's ticket roughly 20 years ago, and I believe she served as clerk for 4 years. She was an outstanding RTM clerk, and she has passed. So thank you very much.
Okay, we'll have a moment of silence. All right, any other business? Representative Walker?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think we as a body should give a loud and hearty thank you to retiring Police Chief Kevin Halloran for his years of service, and also welcome the former Deputy Chief, Jonathan Mulhern, who will be our new Chief of Police.
Any further business come before the RTM? If not, Representative Lawler?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Two quick things. First of all, I'd like to congratulate our Branford boys hockey team on winning the D2 state championship. It's been 31 long years. And secondly, I asked everyone here on the RTM to please get in touch with the board of directors of the Branford Rec Department. I've gotten several phone calls from my constituents, and I've talked to several of your constituents about the new rec department being named after Joe Trapasso. Some of you don't know, I'm sure many of you do remember Joe. Joe served the town for over 40 years. He did a lot for this town. He built that community house basically with his bare hands. He put us on the map. We are one of the shining examples in the country for recreation community houses in the country. I think it would be a travesty if our new rec center, senior center, was not named after Joe Trapasso. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Any other item to come before the RTM? If not, Representative Dunbar, have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Brantford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BrantfordTV.org.